Some truths destroy you when you discover them too late, but other truths arrive at the exact moment you need them and quietly save your life. For me, that truth came at 4:12 in the morning. The house was silent, the kind of deep silence that only exists before sunrise, when the entire neighborhood is still asleep, and even the wind seems to be holding its breath. The faint glow of the streetlights leaked through the curtains of our bedroom, casting long shadows across the floor. My phone vibrated softly on the nightstand. At first, I ignored it. I thought it was just another spam notification or a late email from one of the teams overseas. But the phone buzzed again, persistent this time. I reached over slowly so I wouldn't wake my wife. A text message from an unknown number. It read, "Don't go sign that contract this morning. If you don't want to lose everything, be at the old warehouse on the outskirts at 10 a.m. Trust me, just this once." I stared at the screen for several seconds. No name, no explanation, just a warning. At the time, I had no idea that message would destroy my marriage, expose the two people I trusted most in the world, and save my entire company. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm a digital strategist and the founder of a fast-growing tech company called Northbridge Analytics. But titles like that didn't always exist in my life. 10 years ago, I was just another broke college kid trying to survive on instant noodles and big dreams. That's where I met Emily Parker. We met in the university library during our sophomore year. She was sitting across from me, surrounded by textbooks and highlighters, looking completely lost in a statistics assignment. I still remember the way she pushed her hair behind her ear every time she got frustrated. I helped her solve one problem. She bought me coffee to say thank you. That coffee turned into long walks across campus. Those walks turned into late-night conversations about the future. And before I knew it, she had become the center of my world. We spent 10 years together, 7 of those as husband and wife. Back then, life felt simple. We didn't have much money, but we had ambition. I worked freelance coding jobs while building my first startup idea. Emily worked part-time at a marketing agency. We promised each other that one day we'd build something bigger. 5 years ago, that promise seemed to come true. My company landed its first major investment round. Suddenly, we weren't counting pennies anymore. I bought the house I had always dreamed of owning, a modern 2-story place just outside the city, with a large backyard and glass walls that let sunlight flood the living room. I still remember the day we moved in. Emily stood at the doorway holding a small box of dishes while I lifted her off the ground and carried her across the threshold like in the movies. She laughed and wrapped her arms around my neck. "Daniel," she whispered, "this is our forever home." I believed her. That house quickly became the center of our lives. Every Sunday afternoon, we had a tradition: backyard BBQs. The grill would be smoking, music playing softly from a portable speaker, and the smell of grilled steak drifting across the yard. And there was always one person there, my best friend, Michael Turner. Michael and I met during our first year at university. We studied business together, survived exams together, and celebrated every small victory together. When I started my company, he was the first person I called. Today, he was my chief financial officer, but to me, he was more than that. He was family. I can still picture those Sundays perfectly. I'd be standing at the grill flipping steaks. Emily would be sitting at the patio table laughing at Michael's terrible jokes. Michael would raise his glass of red wine and say, "To loyalty and success," and we'd all clink glasses. Looking back now, it feels almost surreal, because the same backyard where we toasted loyalty was probably the same place where they planned my destruction. There's a quote I once heard that didn't make sense until that morning. Betrayal never comes from an enemy. It comes from the people you trusted enough to never check. That night, after reading the strange text message, I didn't move. I placed my phone back on the nightstand and pretended to fall asleep. Beside me, Emily was breathing slowly, wrapped in the blanket. 30 minutes passed. Then I felt her move, carefully, slowly. She slipped out of bed as quietly as possible. Through half-closed eyes, I watched her walk across the room. She grabbed her phone and quietly stepped into the hallway. A moment later, I heard her whispering. Her voice was low, cautious, a tone I had never heard in 7 years of marriage. "He's still asleep," she said softly. "I'm heading to the warehouse first to double-check the files with you. Just make sure your people are ready at the office." My chest tightened. The warehouse, the same place mentioned in the message. I stayed still as she dressed quickly, grabbed her purse, and left the house. A few minutes later, the sound of her car engine faded into the distance. Only then did I sit up in bed. The room suddenly felt colder, because deep down, I already knew what was happening. For the past week, I had been quietly investigating something that didn't make sense in my company's financial reports. Numbers were disappearing. Small percentages at first, then larger amounts. Someone was siphoning money. At first, I suspected an external hacker, but the deeper I looked, the more the evidence pointed to someone inside the company, someone with full financial access, someone like Michael. The problem was, I didn't want to believe it, but the truth started to surface because of something small. 6 months earlier, Emily had gotten furious at our elderly security guard, Mr. Alvarez. He had accidentally spilled coffee on her handbag at the front gate. She wanted him fired immediately. She even threatened to sue him. But Mr. Alvarez was nearly 70 years old. His wife was sick, and the job was the only thing keeping them afloat. So I quietly intervened. I paid his wife's hospital bills, and when Emily insisted on firing him, I secretly kept him on my private payroll. I told him to continue working security for me personally. I didn't do it expecting anything in return. It just felt like the right thing to do. But when my suspicions about Michael and Emily began, Mr. Alvarez became the one person who helped me see the truth. He noticed things others ignored. Late-night meetings in the parking lot, Emily visiting the office when I wasn't there, Michael transferring files at strange hours. One night, Mr. Alvarez even overheard them talking about something called the Cayman account, a hidden offshore account. Every month, 5% of the company's revenue was being quietly redirected into it. 5%. Over several years, that added up to millions of dollars. And that morning was supposed to be the final move. At 10 a.m., I was scheduled to sign a $1 million contract with a foreign partner. But hidden inside that contract were financial obligations that would shift massive debt directly onto me. Once the deal was signed, Emily and Michael would disappear, and I would be left holding the legal responsibility. By the time the authorities untangled everything, they planned to be somewhere far away, probably sipping champagne in Switzerland. That's why the text message mattered. It wasn't from a stranger. It was from Mr. Alvarez. He had discovered where they planned to celebrate their victory, the old warehouse outside the city. So that morning, I didn't go to the office. Instead, I drove to the warehouse. The building stood alone on the edge of an abandoned industrial zone. Rusted metal walls, broken windows, weeds growing through the cracked concrete. I parked my car nearly 100 meters away, hidden behind a row of overgrown trees. The sun was already high, and the heat was brutal. But inside my chest, everything felt ice cold. I moved quietly through tall dry grass and thorny bushes that scratched my arms. Every step felt louder than it should. 40 meters from the back door, I stopped and listened. Voices, laughter. They were celebrating. There was a long stretch of open ground between the bushes and the building. If they looked outside, they would see me instantly. So I waited, heart pounding. Then, when their laughter got louder, I ran, across the dirt, straight to the rusted back entrance. I slipped inside. The voices echoed through the empty warehouse. Emily's voice, Michael's voice, and the sound of glasses clinking. I moved closer until I could hear them clearly. Emily laughed. "Once Daniel signs that contract today," she said, "he'll be legally responsible for all the debt." Michael chuckled. "And by the time anyone figures it out, we'll already be in Switzerland," Emily added with a cold smile in her voice. "And he'll be wearing an orange jumpsuit." For a moment, I just stood there, listening, letting the truth fully settle into my bones. Then I stepped out from the shadows, right as the clock on the wall hit 12 p.m. "The contract isn't signed, Emily," I said calmly. They froze. Their faces turned pale. "But your arrest warrants," I continued, "are ready." Michael dropped his glass. Emily stared at me like she was seeing a ghost, because while they were planning their escape, I had already sent everything to the company's board of directors and the police. The hidden camera in our living room, the financial records, the recordings of their conversations, every piece of evidence. Police sirens echoed outside minutes later. That day, I lost my wife. I lost my best friend. But strangely, I didn't lose everything. I gained something more valuable: perspective. Because karma isn't just about punishment, it's about balance. Mr. Alvarez is now the head of security at my company. And sometimes I think about a simple truth that most people ignore. Never underestimate the quiet people in your life. Because sometimes, the smallest grain of sand is the only thing that can stop a giant machine from crushing you.